Hello everyone, welcome back to Attacker 4. So following the 3 previous videos, today I want to present you a professional game that happened between Eio Sakata and Takagawa Kaku. Or Kaku Takagawa, sorry for the misorder. So this is a real professional game. Both players are very known. And the last move, Kaku decided to invade at 03, right? This is something that we're kind of familiar with, right? From the 3 previous videos, if I watched them. So how can we go ahead and start an attack onto 03 stone? So feel free to pause the video, think about it, and when you come back, we'll compare the answers. Welcome back. So from the 3 previous videos, we know that we need to do something to prevent white to go into the corner, right? If you think about if this is the intuition that you have, well, congratulations, you have successfully mastered one of the main ideas in Attacker, and it shows that your level is very high now. But the question is more or less how, right? So we can kick at P3, we can also play Q3. If black plays Q3, this is the correct idea, but kind of the wrong tactics, because this allows white the time to actually extend himself at L3, forcing black to also settle himself with a 2-space extension. This is an equal game for both sides, but the problem is black did not make an efficient attack onto white's group. The correct move is for you to kick at P3, forcing white to extend at 04. And then the next move is extremely important, right? So at this point you got the right idea, but that's really not the end of the story. Let's say, for example, you go for the 2-space extension like this, which looks very normal and very nice. The problem is white's going to immediately peep you at K4. This is an excellent move. Black has 2 choices, right? One is to counterattack by jumping out. The other one is the most obvious protection move. So if you protect here, white is going to attach on top, and white is not in any sort of danger, right? If you wedge here, white is just out, right? Any move that white plays, he is going to be fine and dancing in the center. Not much we can do about it. If black counterattacks, white is going to immediately claim the profits by hurting the J3 stone. The problem is that now white has some sort of connection possibility at M2. White has ways to sacrifice these 2 stones by, so let's say, for example, you play this one out. White can grab your corner and then sacrifice the 2 stones, because white already claimed some profits by cutting your J3 stone off. This gives white a lot of options, which is not so great. So it's very important that we make the first correct move, but our follow-ups, I would say, is even more important, right? By watching my first 3 videos, the first move is to be kicking at P3, but what is going to be your follow-up? So that's what we're going to discuss about today, and I really want my viewers to feel comfortable attacking stones like this. The correct move, and as Eio Sakata has accurately played, is to pincer at M4. This prevents any sort of moves like this, because when you play this, that's just not going to work because my stone is higher. So against this move, white really doesn't have a good option but to, jump out. If white attaches here, these things, they don't work tactically. It's really difficult just for white to make a life locally. So white needs to get out, right? White cannot allow something like this, right? This is almost trying to, kill white. White is pretty much, it's very difficult to actually make this group alive. White can also not think about going into the corner now. Since white has 2 stones here, when black descends and white tries to live a corner, black says no problem, go ahead and live your corner. And then white is facing some sort of very tough problem, right? If white lifts the corner, black follows up by enclosing everything. The profits that black generates just way overcompensates the profit that white got in the corner. So this is not acceptable for white. But if white runs out, there's several problems. First of all, the corner is not alive, right? So black has this way of trying to kill here. So yeah, this could happen in the game. So white is going to be struggling here pretty much. And yeah, white is probably dead. I'm not even sure if white can make it out. Probably needs some sort of crazy stuff here to actually live, right? Even this one, and then but then after this, we can tell that these guys just feel the chill, right? Like this is, I mean, which move does not, do the job, right? Like this is very, very difficult for white moving on. So white is facing tough problems. Likely white is going to actually live the corner, and then this is going to happen, and this is just a bad game for white. So white cannot think about, just going for a transfer. So in the actual game, white decided to jump out. So we got the first two moves correctly, but we need to follow up, right? This is not the end of the story. We used our principle one, attack to generate profits. Then we used the fact that, we try to squeeze white as much as possible, making sure that white does not gain roots. That's also very nice. But then we have to follow up with our principles, right? That is to make our opponent as heavy as possible by peeping at p5. This is a very difficult move to find because usually this is a very bad shape when you form a triangle like this. But in our case, this follows tightly with our principle. So we kick to generate profits, then we pincer, and then we make our opponent really heavy, and then finally, black follows up by cutting the connections between two groups, right? So this is another principle that I haven't covered, but you get to basically see this. I will show this with more example, but a very important principle that is to cut your opponent's groups into, separate groups. Which is kind of obvious, right? You don't want your opponent's group to be connected, so you can attack each one of them. Very intuitive, easy to understand principle. And then white needs to follow up with a jump. If white gets greedy and then tries to take more cash, when black hops here, these guys just feel like they can't breathe, right? This is very, very difficult. So in the actual game, Kaku decided to hop like this, and then black follows up by playing a 2-space extension. And this ends the sequence for attack. So we can tell the flow is in the control of on black's hands, right? Like this is just a very nicely executed attack sequence. So the result is that black was able to secure the corner, black also got the 2-space extension, and then white still has this super heavy group that probably needs to add an extra move to make sure everything is fine. And this is just inefficient. White is not generating anything while black gets profits everywhere. So let's just recap the flow. We kick to strengthen our corner. We pincer, and very important that we pincer from a high position, making sure that these guys can't breathe and they have to run. And then we follow up our principle by making our opponent really heavy. Now this is 4 connected stones. White can in no means sacrifice these guys. And then we follow up by separating the groups. And then finally, when white hops here, we remember to not get greedy, and if you try this thing, you might just follow. You might end up getting, collapsed. You might just end up, hurting yourself by attacking too fiercely. Always remember we're back to principle one, and then generate profits for ourselves. Not only this generates profits, but also settles these three guys. And then we have White's group floating in the center, and then this is a very difficult game for White moving on. So that's a very, very nice example, an actual game that is played by professional players, a textbook way of how you would attack, an invasion like this, right? So this is actually, I think, a very common shape, I would say, right? A lot of times you would see things like maybe, a lot of time you might have this, and then your opponent decides to invade like this. We can follow up pretty much the same type of principles, except, at this point, maybe the peep here is not as great because your stone is a little bit closer. So you can think about maybe just cut your opponent off. You can think about going back to principle one, generate more profits. These are all fantastic. But even if you just say, hey, I wanna do the same thing, that's okay too. This stone actually has value, and then you can pretty much just follow up the same stuff, right? Like you can just generate profits, kind of a similar sequence that you can use, that you can apply in many places, as long as you follow. You follow tightly with the principles of attacking. You should be feeling very comfortable, I would say. All right, so this is the content for today's attacker. Thank you very much for tuning in. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel for more attackers, and I will see you in the next video.